Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Sickcast, aka the Siblings and Cardboard Podcast. I'm your host, Donnie, joined by my buddies / co-hosts, Noah and Thomas. Whether you're a veteran card gamer or a first-timer just testing the waters, we are all Siblings in Cardboard. Guys, I've got a random question for you this week.
Shoot.
If Wraith was a region in the world of Pokemon, who do you think the Elite Four would be?
So I immediately start thinking of the characters we more associate with being evil.
Okay.
Sutcliffe, the guy who made Viscerai, just screams Elite Four energy to me.
Or Lady Barfamont, whatever her name is. The one that turned Levia.
She's got the Elvira thing going. And then Levia herself, right? Because she's essentially a demonic Pokemon master.
Yeah, I 100% can see Levia as the dark type Elite Four.
Boneyard Marauder, I choose you.
I want to keep it simple with the actual hero. So I want to see Dromai, definitely one of them. Prism, I think definitely one of them. I think just I don't know. They both feel like that kind of Pokemon-esque type.
Ooh,
I want Ira,
the young
to be
Guardian.
one.
She screams fighting type energy.
She does.
What's her name? Valda. Yeah, Valda.
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't know why. I just see Ira being a really, really badass Elite Four.
Ira? Okay.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Ira.
Oh yeah, she does kind of have that really cheesy Pokemon gym leader thing going about her with her.
That's kind of the vibe that I got off of Fi, you know? I mean, I thought Fi would make a great gym leader, but I wouldn't put him in the Elite Four. If
I would,
Dromai is 100% one of the Elite Four, though. She is definitely the dragon type. The Dragon type Elite Four. My picks would probably be Levia as the Dark type, Chain as a Ghost type, Dromai as the Dragon type, and maybe the reason I asked the question is because Flesh and Pod just did their 99th episode. Shout out to Flesh and Pod, great guys, great podcast. Go listen to them. I asked them this question in their Discord, and Charmer gave his answers, and he also said that Teklo Vossen would make for a good Elite Four member, and I think I agree with him.
Yeah, he can Steel type.
Steel type. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Type. That would be perfect.
Yeah, he's got some Giovanni vibes, right?
He does.
Yes,
he does.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Tekla Vossen would make a great, not even necessarily bad guy. He's just the antagonist. He won't necessarily be a bad guy, but he's the rich guy for sure.
Yeah, there's always at least one rich guy in these Pokemon games, right?
Yes. Some kind of professor, some kind of research, a lot of money. Something goes wrong. If anybody's going to be a
professor, it's going to be Dash. It's going to be Dash. If anybody's going to be a professor in the world.
Yeah, I could see Dash being the professor of who gives you your first Pokemon. That seems her personality. Perfect.
There's always a bad professor, though. You know what I mean?
And your rival would be Max.
Could do that. Yeah,
I can see that. I could see Max being the antagonist there. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, what's been going on new with you guys lately? Anything new and interesting and cool?
I think I hit maybe my 300th game of Dash.io sometime this week.
Good gracious. Okay.
Yeah. I've been grinding, partly for practice, partly for the deck tech I've been working on, which I think comes out either tonight, as in we're recording, or tomorrow when this releases.
Nice.
What about you, Noah?
Nothing crazy. Yeah, just playing some games of Flesh and Blood, fooling around with Hatchet Dory, figuring out what list I want to solidify.
I thought you were taking Azalea to PQ. Why are you even bothering?
Well, it was Azalea, but see, and there's so much Azalea on Talishar right now. I still have a feeling it's going to be Azalea at some point. But right now, I think LSS has their eyes set on a different hero to LL. So we're gonna. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been Dromai for a long time.
I mean,
it's only natural.
I guess we'll get to it, but she finally converted into a tournament win. But yeah, I guess that leads into the market minute. We talked a little bit right before what the market minute could be for this week.
We're all expecting one card to be hot.
And
yeah, one card is hot on the list. It's pretty hot. It's actually on fire. Some might say it's an inferno. Some might say it's a flame of Imperial grade. We'll get to it, I promise. But we're going to look at a card that kind of sits opposite of it, but for a good reason, and that's Mask of Momentum. That's right.
Oh, what?
Don't sit around on the ninja.
Okay.
Slightly creeping up. Just a couple of bucks here and there. But no, it's been steady around the $60 mark, and even a couple have slipped at about 48 if you're really getting lucky for a deal. But I've seen this card 65. It's been its modest, any day of the week kind of price, and it's sitting about 75 right now, and it's starting to gain a little bit more traction, and I think Dromai's gaining more traction.
Is that the RF or the cold foil?
The RF.
Wow.
The unlimited RF was down. You could get it about $48 if you really tried. Not but 17 days ago or something like that, and probably even a few, like a week ago, you could still probably haggle it. But I'm not saying go out and,
in the flesh and blood world,
and buy them all out. But it's definitely a card worth watching as Dromai continues to gain stocks, which we'll talk about as our next card. On the list is Tome of Imperial Flame. Right, I know, big surprise. It's actually worth so much money now that I didn't see this coming as fast as it did. Like, I knew it was good, but it shot down and it's kind of settled around the $30 mark, maybe 40 for Rainbow Foils. Wait,
are you sure?
No,
because I could swear.
No. I'm saying that's where it settled down at. Hold on. And it only took one win, and it's at $54 right now for non-rainbow foils and $60 for rainbow foils, meaning they are so close in price right now. The playability of the card is the only thing that matters. So you're looking at almost a $60 Majestic any way you want to scrub it.
Yeah, and you only have like 20 copies on TCG Player till it jumps up to $60.
You have... you got maybe like 4. No, there's one for 6. You got about 10. You got about 10 of them at about the $55 mark, and then it's right up to 60 for the non-foils. So you're pretty much paying $60 for it. Let's get real.
I'd like to talk about Tome of Imperial Flame, but I don't want to disrupt the market minute too much. We can wrap around back to it.
Well, yeah. There's definitely lots to talk about it. It's an interesting card. It's putting Dromai in a very interesting place. We talk about the whole action point economy and why Dromai is going to run away with a bunch of games, I feel, as time goes on.
With the format. She's going to run away with the format.
She will, but that's fine. I think she needs to anyway, and then you can do whatever you want.
I think she's got some good counters. I think we're about to enter a really healthy format, potentially.
She does, though. She does. It's going to, which is why I marked the Mask of Momentum. Like seriously, don't sleep on it if that's something you want to do. Just taking a look at Crown of Dominion, since it kind of goes hand in hand with Tome slightly. I mean, you'd think. And it's at $55 right now for a rainbow foil. Still at about $70, $80 for a cold foil. So Crown of Dominion has shown no signs of dropping. In fact, it's only gone up.
Well, those cards go hand in hand. If one goes up, the other goes up.
That's why I want to keep a price watch on it. Another card, put it on your radar. Last one. It's my favorite one. It was my picture last week. Skullbone Cross Wrap. Just watch it. If you ever thought about playing Azalea, if you really like Ranger, if Lexi was for you and now she's gone, you're going to want the Skullbone Cross Wrap. Just go pick it up before it gets too expensive. It's about $50 right now. Pretty adequately priced. Yeah, 45. You probably could have got them for 35, 40, but she's been gaining a lot of traction. And I suggest that card, or I pretty much insist that card is going to go up to about $60, $70 soon.
I mean, the Ranger simps have to go somewhere, right?
Well, there's that, but I also want to point to the obvious that Arcane Rising Unlimited doesn't exist anymore. And so it's not like people are opening cases and cases of this reprinted product every day. Do you know what I mean? So, let's be real about it. Go buy it. Go get it now.
Yeah, and I don't think people are really buying much history pack either anymore.
No, people won't want HP1. If they want it, they're gonna get the black border stuff, which is heftily expensive but worth it. Different languages, but you get the black borders.
I don't know about that because I've heard, I think Stacksville reported a few days ago that some of the white border stuff is actually doing better than the black border versions, like the Techlo Foundry Heart.
There are cases, I would say, yeah. That would, yeah, sure.
So specifically, Techlo Foundry Heart is doing better in white border, and is that specifically talking about the black border version that just came out?
I'd have to go back and watch the video again, but I do remember that he said that the white border version was doing better than the plain non-foil version of Foundry Heart.
Okay, and the plain non-foil version, I'm guessing that the only place you get that is from Bright Lights.
Bright Lights, yeah. Here's the problem with both of those is one, there's just more Bright Lights being opened than History Pack number one.
True.
So there's that. Number two, if I go look at the sales right now on TCG Player, the last sale for a History Pack Techlo Foundry Heart was on the 20th for $49 and on the 12th of October for $45. The one before that was $94.99 all the way back in September. People aren't buying the white border ones. Just because they're listed at $58, $59 doesn't mean they're actually selling. People would much rather just buy the Bright Lights one right now because it's being opened right now. Boom, $39.99, shipping's included. Of course, give me my black border non-foil Techlo Foundry. And look at these sales. 25, 3 of them sold today alone. On the 4 actually sold today alone on the Bright Lights. So sure, price wise, it's higher. It doesn't mean it's going to sell.
Speaking of non-foil chess pieces, I opened another non-foil tunic on Friday. So I could see why tunic prices dropped a bit. It's, from my perspective, they're coming out as common as tokens.
$70 right now for a tunic. Feels good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like non-foil.
That's incredible. I love that.
I mean,
I love that.
The Krunic Unlimited tunic is down to 75 as well. They're practically the same card. Bright Lights.
And the RF one is actually holding some value though.
154, 150. Yeah, it feels pretty good.
Not some crazy $240 or anything, but
no. And if we take a look at History Pack, same kind of a thing, white border, the only tunics that have sold were $70 a piece, which is on par with the Bright Lights ones, which would be my assumption for if you said, hey, how much would you pay me for a Techlo Foundry Heart from History Pack? I would charge you the price of the Bright Lights one. They're identically the same card. In fact, the black border might still slightly be worth more because it has the black border in somebody's eyes.
Okay.
Like the HP one doesn't add any rarity to it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no special wow factor unless you really want the white border. Then have at it. Do you know what I mean? But there's no foiling. There's nothing. You're not getting anything special with it. So they should be the same price. That's my stance on that.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
So probably the most significant thing to happen this past weekend in the Flesh and Blood world is a certain hero has ascended to living legend status. I guess technically not yet. She's still going to terrorize the ProQuest season, but Lexi Livewire has crossed that 1,000-point threshold. She's done.
I would like it. I'd like to go on the record and say, in the show notes for this section of the show, the title is "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead." Hallelujah. Lexi is gone. She is gone as of November the 6th. Goodbye, good riddance. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I don't want prints on my new door. Okay, bye. I am so excited about her getting out of the format. Like, you just don't know. I'm so sick of Frostbites, and Icelander, you are next.
I don't want Icelander to leave, but I'm glad for Lexi to go. I personally like the deck tax Icelander applies to the meta, but Lexi, yeah, bye-bye.
I want to play the game. I want to do the cool thing with my cards, and Frostbite say, no, you don't get to do the cool thing. You have to play my game instead. That's not the game I want to play. That's not how I want to play the game. I will be over the moon when all the Frostbites are gone from the game, at least temporarily. Someday, I'm sure they'll come back in some kind of irritating incarnation. But for now, I'm looking forward to the day when we can breathe freely, you know?
So it is interesting, though, because Earth was the first element to basically leave the format, right? Because Oldhim LL'd and Briar LL'd, so those were the only Earth talented heroes that were left. And now Lexi is going, and she's taking the rest of Lightning with her.
Yeah.
And then once Icelander goes, that's all of the ice. And so all of those elemental cards are just completely actually dead cards.
Goodbye, Arya.
Yep, goodbye, Arya. See you later. So yeah, she becomes non-playable on November 6th. So that's after PQ season is over. We finished our first weekend of PQs. We've got 2 more weekends left, and Lexi will be there to terrorize both of them, I'm sure. Try to do a limited format if you're tired of Lexi, but you still want to do a PQ. So who do you think is going to be the big hero once Lexi's actually gone?
Oh, there's only one choice, in my opinion. There's only one big bad going forward.
There's not only one. There's a few.
So do you really think it's Dromai?
100%. I 100% think that Dromai is going to be the new Lexi going forward. Noah, you want to say something? Come on in, man. I mean, I'm not trying to stop you. I see you trying to talk. Come on with it.
I think Lexi was gatekeeping a lot of heroes that are fairly good against Dromai.
Well, I mean, Icelander gatekeeps some of the heroes that are really good against Dromai, because both the ninjas are fine against Dromai, and Icelander's not going anywhere. So,
well, Levia is good against Dromai, and she was being gatekept by Lexi, and Dash.io I think is being gatekept by Lexi a little bit. The ice tax from Lexi is much worse than the ice tax from Icelander.
Well, it's different too, because the ice tax from Icelander isn't coming with
2 giant arrows with nasty on hits.
But once Lexi leaves, you still have Icelander who's going to slow the meta down. Dromai is definitely going to slide into, I think, the most played deck. And she's going to get results because I think the deck is really good. But
She'll clearly be the most played deck. I don't have any argument about that. But I don't necessarily agree that she's going to become like the boogeyman.
She will be the deck to beat, but she won't be some oppressive powerhouse.
I don't even necessarily think she'll be the deck to beat. I don't know who that's going to be yet.
She'll only be the deck to beat.
So let me tell you,
the same calling that I watched.
Yeah,
because in 6 out of 12 rounds, Dromai was on camera.
Right.
And then she swept the top 8 in calling Dallas.
So hold on.
And Lexi's still legal.
Okay, that's true. That's true. But I talked to a lot of the people who are playing Dromais, and they said that particular calling was favorable for Dromai in a lot of ways, but it was also miserable for Dromai in a lot of ways because of how many Dromai there were. And there are better deck lists to play in a non-Dromai heavy meta as Dromai, and the problem with the Dromai deck building right now is you're kind of like a prisoner to the mirror match. So her popularity hurts her from being a better deck, because if you don't basically build your deck around the mirror match right now, you don't make it to top 8. You just lose. So
with Lexi going out, she's going to get more sideboard slots anyway. So that's going to be easier.
One of the things they I talked to some people, they mentioned Tome of Imperial Flame is good. It is a good card, but it's really bad against some matchups because it doesn't block, and it's terrible for fatigue. It is a terrible fatigue card because it's basically a card in your deck that literally does nothing. It doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't apply any threat. It just makes your threat condense into a single turn, which against decks that are good at fatiguing Dromai, that doesn't really do terribly much. It's just a card you lost out of your deck, and it didn't block. So if it's coming in on a turn that you're getting hit by an Azuri Disruption or a Crippling Crush or something, you can't use that card to try to save yourself. And then, but if you don't run it and you go into the mirror match, the person running it has 6 more Ash than you or more if they're playing Remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 Ash is a lot of Ash in the mirror match. Like that's literally to rake the embers. And if you watched any of Calling Dallas, you've got any of those Dromai games, the cadence of Asvalize and Rake the Embers is exactly how you win those matchups.
Yep.
So if it's the deck to beat and it's popular, it's not going to be like Lexi, where the mirror match comes down to kind of like luck of the draw and skill. Dromai comes to, did you actually build your deck to fight the mirror match? And then do you actually have the skill to execute these 50-minute long games over and over and over again? God, I cannot imagine playing 12 Dromai games.
That's the big thing. I mean, people have said it before. I just think the variance in the Dromai playing field is so high. I think it's an extremely deep class, and it takes a lot of skill to play it at its highest level, right? And so when the deck is working and it's firing on all cylinders, you've got the build right and it performs well, it's great, right? Like it played for itself. But are you going to be able to do that? Like Thomas said, 12 games in a row, or after they come out with this deck, this is the winning deck, right? And then other people make tweaks. Is it still going to be the winning deck? Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's always going to be disagreements there, right, though, for the mirror match.
100%. But what I'm saying is I like that Dromai is going to be a very healthy competitive deck. High shares will definitely get results when it's played perfectly in the right scenarios. Is it going to be like Lexi level 6, 7, 8 ProQuest, out of 12? I don't necessarily think so. I just think there's way too many decks that have okay matchups into Dromai, if not favorable, that get opened up by Lexi being gone rather than hurt. And if more isolators come back into the mix, I think that just makes the game actually better. It just makes the pool so much more diverse. You have to still respect it. I don't know. I actually like what the meta is going to look like with Icelander in the mix with all the heroes.
Oh, also these like extremely red Dromais just get wrecked by Icelander playing correctly even harder.
She's a dark horse. She becomes a dark horse again. As soon as Lexi leaves, I tell you this right now, she becomes that hero again where everybody says, "Oh, don't worry about it," and she's just going to show up and win. When she shows up and wins Worlds.
Icelander used to be generally unfavored, or it used to be a very difficult match for Icelander to win. She had to basically play perfectly the entire time. But that's because Dromai was running like 6 blues and 2 yellows. And now she's running sometimes literally 0 blues. I've seen some lists that don't have any. Like they have passing Mirage, but maybe they're kind of all in and they don't even care about that. And Tome of Imperial Flame doesn't do anything useful when you have Frostbites.
True that.
And so, just like Thomas said, like if you know the majority of the field is going to be like ninjas, faster decks. Oh, Dromai's heavy played. Here's what counters Dromai. Who do you think wins off all that? Icelander, because Icelander just shows up and says, "Remember me? Like I'm like 2% of the playing field, but I'm still." That's when Icelander wins. In fact, this meta is skewed for Icelander.
Bravo might be a little bit of a boogeyman too.
Yeah,
Bravo's got game.
It's actually really neat what the game does. Like, so a hero goes and everybody they go right into the focus point. Oh, these heroes, and I think those heroes are going to be great. But Icelander's still in the mix. And Azalea is still in the mix. Don't get either one of them.
I think Azalea's going to be quite good too, because she has some counters to these wide aggro decks, but she actually has some weird amount of actual viability into Dromai.
She does. She plays I'm telling you, she plays so well. Azalea is still such a nasty hero.
Turns out a 12 dominated attack that only allows you to play 1 action per turn is kind of good.
I mean, yeah, that is good, but I feel like the Azalea games that we saw over the last couple of weeks into Dromai have been a little on the high roll side. I mean, that matchup is not good for Azalea. I mean, even though we've seen them winning, that is not a good matchup for Azalea. Dromai is still strongly favored.
It's not, but Dromai brings with it in the meta heroes that Azalea is fine against. And so again, it's that thing. You can play for some decks, but you can't play for them all. If you want to play ninjas because you don't like Dromai and you know the majority of your field is Dromai and I don't want, just like if you were an Missouri player and you played it because Lexi was the majority of the field, right? Yeah. So that's what you do. Now as Azalea, go farm all the ninjas. They can't block your stuff anyway.
Katsu can.
Yeah, if he really wants to flick flack somehow from Arsenal and do the whole shebangarang, sure, he can probably get one or two.
Oh well, no, he could do nastier than that. So he can flick flack like the E strike that comes out first, right? And then he can block the arrow out of hand, and then like play a D-react from Arsenal and just completely block out. And then I've seen them. They could just swing with their two Kodachis and throw a Razor Reflexes on it to sink through like 5 damage.
That's 2D reacts right there. That's 2 of what?
Azalea just spent like 4 cards setting that up, and she doesn't have a weapon.
On a Hatchet story list meant to fatigue, I don't know how many D reacts, and she still hits over them when she feels like it.
Yeah, but
it just you never have enough for that deck.
It's okay.
Azalea
it's okay to take damage.
Is just as good as Bravo on a high roll.
Yeah, she plays a lot like Bravo.
There is never enough D reacts for Red in the Ledger, Battering Bolt, whatever off the top. 11
totally
is 3 turns in a row. There's if you don't have time to put a D react in Arsenal, you don't have a D react in Arsenal. There's no way around it.
But you're confusing that you need to completely cover up every single Red in the Ledger that comes at you, and you don't. Because if you look, I guess if you're playing like Dorinthia, for example, where your Dawnblade doesn't really do anything sometimes if you don't play an action first. But decks that can like put 6s, like a Command and Conquer. Oh no, you hit me for 8 damage and a Bloodrot Pox token. You finally hit me, and I only get 1 action point. You know what that's gonna be? Command and Conquer.
I run five finals fighting spirits. I mean, trust me. I told it has nothing to. It has everything to do with the fact that it's 11s and 12s constantly, and you never have enough D-reacts for that.
Okay,
like,
Azalea running like that. 11s and 12s constantly. If you're talking about the arrow, they are basically playing Runeblade, and they get Runeblade hands just like Runeblades do.
Right. I mean, like Warmongers is good against these decks, and it'll creep back up.
Yeah, Warmongers will definitely.
Warmongers will definitely catch it. But all I'm saying is the meta is going to have a dog eat dog kind of a thing. This will beat this, but will get beat by this. It'll be one of those metas. I think it'll be very, very diverse. I think you'll have some really cool top 8s. They'll slide in. They'll have really good gem luck, whatever you want to call it.
Hopefully cooler than the Dallas top 8, which was 4 Dromais, 3 Lexis, and Merrick Kemp. I don't necessarily want to say Dash because we talk about people walking into tournaments with a ham sandwich, and if Merrick was obsessed with ham sandwiches, he would probably take ham sandwiches to top 8. The dude is great on Dash. I think it's totally the player though. He's just, I watched him play and I'm like, how did he manage to pull that off?
Oh, in the game that we saw him in the Swiss, when he was up against one of the Dromais, and he set up the item package that quickly. Dude, when he started going face instead of trying to clear the board, my mind was blown. I had no idea what he was doing there.
Yeah,
I was thinking, how are you going to win this when all these dragons are going to come back at you next turn, man? You're going to die.
It's a calculus. Yeah, it's like you have to go, okay, I'm going to evaluate. I see the dragons on board deal this much damage, and I'm going to like poke and prod her. And if she blocks it all, then I know that her hand damage just dropped by 4. Right?
Yeah.
And then from there you can go, okay, well, I guess all these blues are turning into gunshots now instead of popping dragons. And
that's one of the hardest things at Dromai, right? Is her hand is such a weapon, but her board is a weapon too. And so like sometimes hitting her is actually the better way of controlling the damage on the board. It sounds crazy when there's 9 dragons, but like there's just a point where if you don't hit her, she keeps her entire economy, which says I'll always have things to hit you with.
And the thing also to remember are, 6s and poppers are nice and they could just stop her turn in her tracks, but that's also a 6 you didn't throw at her face. Sometimes you just let the dragons hit you and throw the 6 at her instead, and then clear the dragons with like 2s and 3s and stuff.
Yeah, you don't. Uzuri can tell you, you don't beat Dromai with poppers. That is not the way you win that game. You win it with action point economy. You have to have a decent action point economy built into your deck in order to be able to clear the dragons and still present a threat. If you're not able to clear 1 or 2 dragons and then present something that threatens Dromai's hand, you're not going to win that game. You have a terrible matchup. That is part of the problem with all the new heroes that have been coming out lately, is that their action point economy has been intentionally crippled by LSS. They're not giving heroes, new heroes, a decent action point economy. I mean, Brian Gottlieb just the other day said that is something they're actively doing in design, is dialing back the action point economy.
Except for Dash.io, right?
Except for Dash.io, yeah.
Who can just suddenly go, I have like 8 action points, and I don't even have a way to use all of them.
It's better design space. You can give them more power creep later, and then those heroes that have any type of busted action point economy, which is what I think we're going to see in what we're seeing in Dromai, then they just have their time in the sun and let them ride out. Do you know what I mean? Like I just feel it's some way of addressing maybe a problem they saw somewhere halfway through where they couldn't stop it, kind of like a speeding train type thing. Like it's just already running away with it. So how do you do it? You put out heroes that are going to be the future of the game, and then those that have this overpoweredness to them that just needs to have the right time in the sun, let them have their time in the sun. And hopefully the heroes that continue to keep getting reduced are a better fit, because the older heroes that didn't fit really well with those high action point economy heroes might fit better with the lower action point economy. You know, it'll speak better to each other.
And that is exactly why I think Dromai is going to be the new Lexi in the meta going forward.
Well, she might.
But the thing is there are ways to counter Dromai, right? Poppers do kind of stop, return, and retracts. Her action point economy is a little bit more abstract than Voltaire, right? So I don't necessarily think you can like compare Lexi and Dromai as far as like action point economy goes. And she has to build that up, right? She doesn't just start with the board state. You can like make decisions that stop her from having that. Of course, there's always non-games. She gets the Tome of Imperial Flame on turn 0 and starts off with like an Asvalai and a Thamai out or a Miragai, and you just feel like, oh, great, I've just immediately lost this game.
The snowball has started.
Yeah, the snowball started turn 0. And it didn't cost her anything, too. She still has like 2 Ash after that.
She's definitely going to be that hero sometimes, right? Like, it's just going to happen. But I think that was kind of their indication when they gave Tome, right? Tome was supposed to be, hey, how is Dromai this well represented in every tournament, but never converts? Like, if you're a game designer and that's the question on the table, what do? You say, well, we've got a great product. There just needs to be something that tips her overpowered. So make her overpowered to an extent, right? Now let's see what a hero, okay, when we put out the overpowered Dromai, let's see what the community feels, right? Because she's not going to be, I don't think she's going to be as oppressive as Lexi, but this is another way for them to look at the data and go, okay, Tome was slightly too much, or Tome wasn't even too much.
But was Tome too much?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. We're going to find out. We're actually going to find out whether or not Tome was too much or not.
The finals was
this meta.
The finals. The runner-up was a Tomeless list. He did not play Tome of Imperial Flame.
That's what I'm saying. It might just be that the hero.
To be fair, he probably lost the match because he wasn't running Tome of Imperial Flame.
He probably
in an impressive fashion. He lost that game in an impressive fashion. The snowball started because of the Tome of Imperial Flame, and Guy, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Guy.
He absolutely ran with that game based on because his list was running the Tome.
Well, and that might be a mirror thing, right? Maybe like a Dromai v Dromai, like Tom had pointed out. Tom's pointed out, no, one Dromai runs it, one Dromai doesn't run it, and that becomes a very lopsided matchup.
I think they had Vor a short interview during the tournament, and he talked about like it's a fatigue matchup for him.
Fair.
And if you watched him play it, it's a mathematical matchup. You're like, you saw him play. I think we saw Matthew Vor maybe on the stream like 3 times, at least twice, and he would go very, very low against his opponent, and then suddenly his opponent would just be out of cards.
Because it's just math values, right? If you know what you've pitched, what you've played, what they've played, you know their threat density, then your threat density versus your cards left in any time. Yeah, I mean it becomes numbers at that point.
The only life point that matters is the last one.
And so if you get a game where you high roll, okay, so the Tomes lost in that game, but they won them all the other games that they weren't in, you know, like.
I think he beat the other Dromai he beat because that Dromai didn't run Remembrance. And so he just barely ran out of threats. If you go and rewatch the game, it was an extremely close game that Matthew Vore played on the one before the finals, I believe, to get into the finals. Is really, really close. And like, I think a single Remembrance on his opponent's side might have shifted that game in his favor. And then Guy managed to see his tomes pretty quickly. I think in the previous round, the tomes came up pretty late. And so he just had this crazy ash economy. Matthew Vore could never control it. And he couldn't fatigue him in time. I mean, I think the deck was pretty thin, but I think it was like 8 cards or something, or 10 cards left, and there's just no chance of fatiguing him.
Yeah, not with the board state he had built up.
A little bit of an anticlimactic final, but that's just how the Dromai mirror matches are. Sometimes you just and that's like, it's like almost Hearthstone, right? A lot of times you could like look at the board state in Hearthstone and be like, unless there's some big reset, which doesn't exist in Flesh and Blood,
yep,
the game's over. The board state just says, I've got lethal on board.
Yeah, it's just too many numbers versus your numbers that are blocking. It just, you can't do it.
Speaking of numbers, an interesting point I found out while I was looking up the stats for the calling. There were 280 players at Calling Dallas Fort Worth that just happened over the weekend, and 280 players at a U.S. event. The week before, there were 283 in Taipei. There were less players at the Dallas Calling than there were at Taipei. Do you guys think that's a PQ season thing, or if is everybody just sick and tired of dealing with Lexi? I mean,
it could be a combination of Lexi fatigue and event fatigue, maybe. So I think, but you have so much stuff that's happening soon, right? You have ProQuest. Skirmish isn't really on most people's radars, but it is coming up. Then you have Worlds. You have people grinding Worlds, and so maybe just going to another calling just really wasn't worth it either. And when you're in the center of the United States, you're also like equidistantly far from everybody at the same time. You're not West Coast. You're not drawing all the West Coast players. You're not East Coast, so you're not drawing all the East Coast players. You're center.
It's probably a mixture of all things.
I consider going. It was an 11-hour drive, though.
If you wanted to go, right? Because, like, I mean, if you're saving for Worlds, or if that's your big trip, then you're set for Worlds, right? You know, if you don't, if you have the means of going to both or driving, whatever, so be it. But if you know, if that thing is, oh, I'm grinding for ProQuest, or I'm grinding for, maybe just priorities, maybe just making sure you have enough time. Maybe it's mental reasons, mental health. I don't know. I would like to know, do you know how many bonobos there were at the Taipei calling?
I don't think there were any, actually.
Not a single
I know there was at least 1 or 2 ham sandwiches, but I don't know about any bonobos.
Yes, it was strictly bonobos light.
Bonobos light.
Yeah.
They're
hard to find. Maybe we'll have some bonobos next week.
At least one.
Maybe.
So speaking of Skirmish, that's coming up pretty soon. I might try to just find something meta and scumbag some wins, because I want some cold foil tech course, man.
Stop trying to be meta and scumbagging. What are you gonna be, Shane?
I might borrow a chain deck and try to learn how to pitch stack really quick. Maybe I'll go ask Seb for some pointers.
I mean, he'd be the one to learn from.
Yeah, I just want some cold foil tech cores, man.
All right. Well, I'm playing Fatigue.
So cool.
I'm playing Fatigue.
Hey, you're gonna be like, ooh man, look at this cold foil tech core in my my folder. I'm gonna go look over there, and then you're gonna look back, and it's just gonna be gone.
I want the Iron Song versus playmat.
Oh yeah, we'll trade. Instant trade.
Look,
you can have your playmat. I
want the Techlocores too because they look cool.
They look so cool.
There's a lot of really sweet promos coming out here soon.
What made them do that? What made them do cold foil Techlocore? It caught me so off guard. I am ecstatic, but it caught me off guard. It's not what I expected.
It seems like the most universal. If you ask me, the most universal item, if there's ever like some card we're just throwing items out and all three of the mech decks become like
no. Two. It's a dash specialization.
Is it dash?
Yeah. It is like one of the things you think about when you think about mech, right?
But Dash IO is literally the best aggro deck, and this is their way of saying it is. And
Dash IE is also quite strong. She's good. She could end up being a boogeyman too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
I actually can see that because she beats Icelander.
It's hard to build against her though, because she could either go extremely fast or extremely slow, and she could do it in the same deck without a huge tax.
Well, yeah. I think she's a really, really well-rounded deck. Again, I think the meta is going to be a blast. I just think that Icelander, again, is a dark horse that everybody will sleep on, and she'll surprise, like at Worlds.
I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by Icelander at Worlds, though. I mean, everybody.
They might
she's a known quantity at this point.
You can't
be a dark
Worlds.
horse and a known quantity.
Well, she's winning Worlds. Let's just put dark horse it up. Whatever is happening.
I don't know about that. I think Dromai's going to run away. She's going to run away with the meta.
Speaking of Worlds and promos, there's seems like we have a new trend in Flesh and Blood. Kind of like, you have your new gem in every set. It looks like we're going to have a Sigil of Solace skin coming out for like a Worlds promo.
Oh, that thing is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It is very pretty. And like Noah's shaking his head because he's like, I don't have a way of getting that easily.
I don't want to buy them, but I have to buy them, kind of a thing.
And then, you could always just go to Barcelona. I mean, that is an option.
It is, but it's
not for me. But it could be.
So, and then another interesting promo is Jack-o'-lantern, which is
that one I've got to get.
Now I'm a little confused. Is this the first tournament legal, or is Shitty Christmas Present technically tournament legal?
Shitty Christmas Present is not actually tournament legal to my knowledge.
But Jack-o'-lantern will be a tournament legal promo.
Tournament legal.
Yes.
That you have to do a buy-a box during the Halloween season to get. And the card is pretty interesting. It comes in like the red, yellow, blue variety, and it says check the top card of your deck. If it's the correct color, you get a rune chant.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Skyfire Lanterns. I think those came out in Dynasty. But this actually will banish the card. So not only do you get the rune chant, you also get to banish a card with it.
Oh, so it has the banish added. It's not just a check.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's probably going to be a decent Vincent card. I'm not going to say good because I'm not convinced that everything or anything in Vincent is particularly good at the moment. But it looks interesting enough to where I want to try it competitively. And I just love Halloween. So I'm all about this promo in general.
Yeah, it's nice art.
It's an ode to Rune Blades. You're not left out. They're going to fix you guys is what it is. Don't worry about it. Just like they're going to fix Warriors.
Maybe soon. It depends on what's coming out in heavy hitters. I could see Warrior getting some support in heavy hitters.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're very much.
I don't know what you do. You give her another specialization?
No. You could like give her
just the axis.
Well,
don't do that.
You could just give Warriors something that gives them a little bit more depth. Maybe it's an attack action that buffs their next weapon swing and it has go again, so it kind of gives you a little bit more depth. Like it gives you some legs against Dromai, right? Because maybe you can kill an Asvali and then swing the sword at another dragon, then swing the sword at Dromai, kind of thing.
Maybe something that specifically gets go again if it kills an ally.
No, I wouldn't necessarily want to make it so specific.
That's way too specific.
I would just say on hit. If it's on hit, you're like the attack itself has go again, and if it on hit, it gives your next weapon attack go again, right? That would be something that I don't think is really in the design space yet. That would give her a little bit more depth than just big weapon attack, second big weapon attack if the first one hits. We have a couple more promos. November Armory Kit is awesome. So
if you're a fan of Dash.io, maybe.
Well, I actually like that like people's playmat. I think that card, the yellow Evo helmet, even though I think the yellow Evo set, that particular set is pretty weak. I think great. The art is really cool. And I can get my cold foil symbiosis shot. Yep.
Well, it'll be my cold foil symbiosis.
I mean, there's going to be 4 of them per store you go to.
Well, I'll win one of them.
I will do my best. I wasn't expecting to get a Tekla leveler, but hey, here we are.
Yeah, I'm hoping to pick up a cold foil Dash.io from ProQuest and a cold foil symbiosis shot within the next, week or so. So maybe get them graded if they look particularly fancy.
Okay, more power to you. I've never really been into getting stuff graded. I mean, I've never cared enough to have it graded. If it looks good in a sleeve, it looks good enough for me,
Yeah.
I would only grade things that I wasn't going to shuffle. Otherwise, I don't think there's I can't grade extended twinning blades. Just what am I going to do with it?
I don't know. You could just have one fancy one to look at, right?
I want to grade the CNCs that I have, but what am I going to do with them? I'm already not going to shuffle. No, you can't play them.
What?
No, display them.
Oh, display them, yes.
What are you guys thinking about bringing to Skirmish?
Vincent.
Whatever beats Shane, because you're going to play a dirty Shane deck.
I mean, it's either going to be Levi or Dash, probably.
I'm almost certainly locked on Vincent.
Okay.
I'll be playing most likely Ira.
I mean, I don't know how many skirmishes I'm going to go to. I mean, probably just one, if I'm being honest. I mean, Blitz is not my favorite format, but I'll play it when I have to, I guess. I mean, skirmish season, you kind of have to play Blitz.
It's a fun time.
Ideally, I would go to 3 and win 3. That way I can just get my play set of cold foil Tekla cores. But
if I end up getting one, I'll make sure you get it.
We'll just go to as many as possible. I see in our notes that there's a specific skirmish event nearby. It says Realm Rumble in Columbus.
Oh, that's not a skirmish event. If you are like me, you people out there, if you are not interested in going to every single skirmish event, the Realm Rumble is going to be from December 1st to December 3rd. And the way we've seen Three Floating talk about it, the way we've seen Twitter talking about it from Realm Games themselves, and I'm going to mention Flesh and Pot again, the way they talk about it every week, if a calling is a tier 3 event, as far as competitive levels and everything, and a Pro Tour is a tier 4, the Realm Rumble is setting up to be a tier 3.5. It's going to be like a calling plus kind of thing. It's going to be a really big deal.
Are they going to be able to have like the side events kind of like they do at these actual LSS events? Okay.
Yes, side events, and there's going to be a cosplay contest, and it's not just going to be Flesh and Blood. They're doing all kinds of different card games there, but it's huge. It's going to be from December 1st to the 3rd, and that's smack in the middle of skirmish season. Skirmish season starting on November 8th to December 10th.
And that's Columbus, Ohio, I guess?
Yes. Yep.
Another 11-ish hour drive. I think that one's actually like 13.
Man, we could just jet right over there.
That's a whole lot of Dungeon Crawler Carl that we could listen to.
That's a lot.
Carl?
It's a fantasy series. It's fantastic. You should listen to it. Especially if you like audiobooks.
Or is it like
it is an especially good audiobook.
Okay.
The voice actor is really great. And then the most recent book, they got some guest voice acting from the guy who does Brock from Venture Brothers.
Huh. I mean, is he as good as Michael Kramer?
Yes.
Really? I was not expecting that answer.
Yeah, he's as good as Michael Kramer. He's up there in the like god tiers of audiobook reading, like with Michael Kramer and Kate Redding.
Okay.
They're really good.
What was the name of it again?
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Dungeon Crawler Carl.
It's funny, hyper violent, but it's also very emotional. It's very much uplifting and like team spirit kind of stuff going on in it at the same time. I really like it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Cool.
So
back on topic.
Back on topic. We got ProQuest this weekend. I'm going to go to a Classic Constructed event and probably a draft event as well. Taking Dash.io to Classic Constructed. I'm going to premiere her for the first time in an actual real competitive event past an armory. I think Noah's now switched to Dromai, or is he doing Azalea?
Well, here's the crazy part. I've got every dragon for my Marvels except for Dominia. So if you've actually seen Dominia, I've been looking for it. Got it on the back of my milk carton downstairs. It's like, where's Dominia? So I'm just looking for that. Just one more Marvel. No, I'm not. I'm a dirty Dory player. It's why I have the cards I have. I will be playing something out of the normal. I don't like any of the matchups. I don't want to deal with Dromai. So I'm going to make it as lopsided as physically possible in my favor. There will probably be upwards of 15 poppers in my deck. I might just be playing a Fatigue Axe build. I don't really care. I hope you guys are ready to play 50 minutes with me every round.
Don't forget, you still have to deal with Lexi. There will be some Lexi players there. And, Brandon 100%. Is going to be there, and he said he's playing Lexi.
Andrew Lorenz is going to be there.
This is my favorite part. I'm pretty sure I can make a Hatchets list. Okay? That could still deal some insane pressure. We'll figure it out.
I would laugh if you actually managed to just bring a Hatchets list that could actually just fatigue the Lexi. And
I'd have to get lucky with some hold the lines or something, but I'm not gonna play that card.
I'm assuming that you're gonna bring Katsu, Donnie. I think I might buy a few packs of Everfest to see if I can. You just need one yellow 100 wins.
One yellow 100 wins is the only card in my entire collection, apparently, that I don't own for Katsu.
I don't know how.
I have reached out to a couple of different friends.
We'll maybe buy a pack or two. Maybe my prize packs on Friday will be Everfest.
I reached out to Alex Sneed of the Card Guys, and he has actually put me a yellow 100 wins in the mail. I just don't know if it's going to be here on time. So I reached out to another friend who's going to bring a copy of yellow 100 wins to the PQ for me. So one way or another, I should have it as long as it doesn't get forgotten. But if it does, I may just have to replace it with something less synergistic for the list. In which case, I'm not really a happy camper, but I'm not expecting to win anything anyway. So, I'm going for fun.
Of needing cards, I do need 3 this rounds on me. Somebody find them.
Those are Everfest, right?
Or ProQuest.
Yeah, it's a really good. You say, what do you do against Lexi? Just make all the attacks hit from one less, silly.
Yeah, but you also potentially give her.
Yeah, give her a card, deck her out faster. I don't care.
That's true.
She only gets 2 Voltaire. She's not going to get 3. It's not going to change.
Well, no, because
if you want to borrow mine, I can let you borrow mine for the PQ.
Because the Bolton shot with Rain Racer, really nice you can still reload and shoot additional arrows. You still got to be careful giving her extra cards. It can come back to bite you if she has Rain Racers in hand.
This whole deck and game plan is going to come back to bite me. So it doesn't really matter. It's Hatchet's Dory. I've surprised so many decks today, but let's be real. It's Hatchet's Dory. The only thing I have going for me is you don't realize how many poppers I have in this deck because I'm running Finals Fighting Spirit in yellow and red. That's right.
Troll Dory. You're just running Troll Dory.
This is a real deck, and it wins.
It does have poppers and stuff, and Finals Fighting Spirit's a generally okay card. It's just I guess you're running hatchets, so you don't care about your weapons actually hitting. They're just there as extra support.
You're just there. Wait till you see what I run against Icelander. It's an Arcane Lander and 1 hatchet.
So I think other than ProQuest and publishing a Dash.io deck tech in the next day or so, the only thing left we have to talk about is a potential special guest next week, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I think that's the last thing in the notes.
We
mentioned that for our 10th episode we're going to be hosting a very special guest. Do we want to go ahead and announce who that is, or do we want to save that for a Twitter post?
I mean, I think we've hinted at it a little bit. You could just throw it in a Twitter post.
Throw it in a Twitter post, but they should know who it is.
If you have been paying attention to any of the not so subtle hints we've been dropping,
I mean,
you can probably figure it out.
It has something to do with like bonobos, and it
Maybe
has
some Borvo action.
I might be asking us at least one Star Wars question.
Yes, and he's still waiting to get those cards graded, mind you.
So, okay, I think that about wraps us up for this week. Our episode is a little, just the tiniest hair shorter. Maybe we're just getting more efficient.
We should get them down to 45, maybe a cool hour anyway. But when there's not a lot to talk about, we don't,
I feel like we rambled for forever. I think we spent like 25 minutes talking about the Tome of Imperial Flame.
And Dromai.
These are good things though, so that when I show up to the Pro Quest on 5, my main, we're all on the same page.
I'm sure we'll have lots to talk about because we'll all recount our ProQuest experiences over the weekend.
Yeah, next week we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and we need to discuss how we format that too, because do we bring our guests for the whole episode? Do we just record separately and splice it in?
No, we need to get him into the Discord call, and we just go like normal, just have an extra person. Like
I need to make a new overlay then.
Yep.
Okay.
Whoa, that means on the day we tribute show the intro, the 3, we're actually 4. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Oh, that's right. Well, maybe have a fancy new intro screen to go with episode 10.
We've been working hard on
episode 10 milestone. I mean, it's supposed to be big, right?
Real big like my pack's gonna be when I beat you after this, Donnie. That box.
We'll see. Your box is absolutely killing me, dude.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like my box is like 3 boxes somehow just all fit. I don't know how that's happening. And I started the short, Donnie. I start the short with the box unopened, and by short 3 of that day, the box was open. That was the funny part. Like, that's the point.
I mean, I've been honest. I've just been doing one pack at a time out of the same box.
Hey, me too.
Sure.
I've been honest. No,
sure,
I'm being honest,
buddy.
Right?
If you say so, I'll believe you. Tell me you're honest, and I'll believe you. Okay.
When there's 2
That's
cold
the face
foils,
of an honest man.
Yeah, that is. When there's 2 cold foils, I just got lucky.
Yeah, that's.
I'm sorry.
And neither of them were legendary.
Well, I was about to say, I think one of them's actually going to be Singularity. I don't know why. It just like jolted me. Oh, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
That would be crazy.
That'd be pretty good.
Wouldn't it? Oh, Team Big Macs.
The dude is like buying cards off TCG Player and then just like putting them into a pack.
That's why he's opening them on the side of the screen.
He's not even pre-opening packs. He's making his own.
You saw how I was over there. I was waiting. I have somebody over there waiting to slide it in. Like they slide in some extra foils. No, we're working on it. I think eventually I'll have the recording thing set up. It'll be separate from my desk. So we're working. Okay. We're working on getting it better.
Well, where do people find you at, Noah?
Right now on Twitter, Big Macs or at Big Macs Fab. I think the FAB is all caps lock. If it matters, it's the same thing on YouTube. On Twitch right now, it's still Loot So Heavy, but hopefully we're going to be doing the YouTube streaming and stuff. I want to get some scenes, and then we'll go stream up there. I still have some boxes to open, and I want to buy some fun things. Arc Unlimited, Wrath Unlimited, Crucible Unlimited, some fun stuff.
Sounds like fun. You can find me on Discord and Twitter as DracoHominus87. Pretty much any other social media as well, if I have it, DracoHominus87. Look me up on fabric.gg. I write the hashtag FabDad series. I just started the Ultimate Pit Fight series, FabDad's Fighting Pit. And my next article that I wrote for Fabric should be coming out on Friday. It is a full coverage review of Calling Dallas. So if you'd like to just read a tournament report of somebody who is armchair quarterbacking the whole thing, look me up on Fabric.
You can find me at Wet the System Fab on Twitter, and just generally Wet the System on most of the other social medias. I'm all over several different Discords. Anyway, I think that about wraps us up for this week. I've got more video editing to do and more ProQuest to prepare for.
All right. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed catching up with us this week. And if you did, we need your help. The best way you're going to help us out is to leave a like and a comment. It really makes a huge difference to a new channel like ours. If you don't want to miss out on future casts, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube so you know exactly when to find us again next time. Until then, take care of yourself and remember, we are all siblings in cardboard.
Bye, everyone.
Discard your cards. Do it. Discard them. And Bold and Blaze do ball lightning.